Yeah, today is Wednesday, which means that tomorrow is the kickoff to the NFL season. That is exciting. Yippee, it's finally back. And a bunch of other stuff still isn't happening, but I mean, sports, yay. Football, life in general will improve. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the Giants. The Giants went 4 and 12 last season. Um, I think a lot of this stuff that I wrote about them is pretty simple because I don't think it's anything surprising. I think a lot of people know this team doesn't have a crazy amount of talent and probably not extremely high expectations this upcoming season. Um, Saquon Barkley is undoubtedly the best player on this team. That's the first thing I wrote. Last season, he actually had less impressive plays than I thought he would. I thought he missed 3 games due to injury, and I'm sure it, whenever you get injured, you get lingering injuries too, so that limits your production. But he still had big plays at moments throughout the season, and he still showed that. If he gets a season where he's fully healthy, I'm sure he'll have a tremendous year and show that he's definitely the best athlete on the team. Daniel Jones is fun to watch run, but I'm very afraid of him like dying when he's running. He just looks like I don't know. He just looks like he's hung out to dry, like a not a deer in headlights because he's not afraid to run. But dude, if somebody ever gets him from the blind side, it's gonna be a gnarly hit just because of the way he runs. He kind of runs like almost just because of his height. It makes him he's just such a big target. Just get cracked in the chest at any moment. So, uh, be careful crossing the street, Daniel Jones. Evan Ingram is actually too fast to be classified as a tight end. I mean, there's plays in the season when he catches a ball and runs after a catch just up the sideline, outrunning cornerbacks. It's insane. Jabril Peppers was such an awesome prospect when he came out, and he had a nice pick six versus the Washington football team last season, and yeah, he he's just a prospect that I've always been interested in, and he's not a prospect anymore because he's in the league, so I should probably stop using that word. But I'm rooting for him just because he was so much fun to watch come out of college, and you want like that to transfer to the NFL. So hopefully he continues to grow and to develop as a player. Golden Tate plays like he wants to make a fool out of every one of the opponents on the field, and it's very fun to watch. I don't know why he just looks like he's got like demons in his eyes, but then he enjoys making fun of the opponent as well, and he's good enough to back it up with his play, which is fun. I was rooting for these guys so hard against the Pats last year. The Pats game when they actually got it tied up 14-14, I was like, no way, these guys are actually competing. And then after they tied it up, I think the Patriots ended up winning the game 28-14, didn't put another point on the board, but I didn't actually look up the score since then, so that's just how I'm remembering it. It may have played out a little differently than that, but I feel like after they tied it up 14-14, it wasn't much of a competition from there on out, and it was the Patriots taking over. But it was cool to even see them compete in that game because I didn't think they would at all. I thought they would just get stomped on, so that was good. Daniel Jones shows exceptional touch on some of his throws. The trajectory on his ball placement is actually surprisingly really good on a lot of his throws last season, which I wasn't expecting to say. Um, just throwing with touch is something that seemingly, if I take note of it, that means a quarterback can do it well. But if I don't take note of it, that means there's almost no touch game at all for the quarterback except for maybe the deep ball, which is very weird. It's a very either way yes or way no category for talking about QBs, where there's not I can't really think of a guy who's kind of just middle of the road in his ability to loft the ball over defenders. Darius Slayton had a heck of a season. I mean, who saw that coming? He missed the first 2 games of the season and then balled out. I think I have stats on him, so I'll leave those for later. But He's just really impressive, especially getting the yards after the catch. Um, big big yards after catch on a lot of plays, and that's actually how he managed to get so many touchdowns this season. It seemed like uh, this team had a lot of big plays after the catch. That's literally the next thing I wrote, and a lot of that was Darius Slayton, but a few of those were also like Golden Tate. Golden Tate's strong after the catch too. They got some receivers on this team that are strong after the catch. Obviously, the speed with Evan Ingram. Is he catches the ball, he's a big threat, and then Saquon Barkley in the screen game or other things like that. A bunch of guys on this team that you just need to get the ball in their hands and then they can go make some plays. Uh, Golden Tate is also one of the best receivers in terms of luck I've ever seen. And if they brought the swagger rating back to Madden, he'd probably have a 99 swagger rating. But I mean, I just have so many memories of Golden Tate just getting a ball tipped up in the air, perfectly dropped into his arms. Or even I'm like 99% sure that he was the guy who caught the Fail Mary who didn't even really actually catch it. But yeah, he got that ruling in his favor. So I mean, just prayers. The prayers of Golden Tate are always answered. So I mean, if you ever have no one open, throw it up to 15 now. I think he's wearing 15 in NY. Yeah. So this team also has just simple notes. I mean, I'm almost done with the notes already because there wasn't much to talk about on defense. Marcus Golden was kind of impressive. I wasn't expecting him to be as impressive. Alec Ogletree made a few plays, but he's off the team now. But this team has a lot of players I love to root for. It's just too bad that they kind of suck. Um, like NFL talent, they're all really good athletes, but just looking at them compared to the rest of the NFL, I do not think they're very good at all. Yeah, stats. Saquon Barkley, 1,003 yards on the ground and 6 touchdowns in 13 games played. 15.4 yards per reception for Darius Slayton, and he had 8 touchdowns in his rookie year. No receiver surpassed 750 yards receiving, but 5 guys had 438 yards receiving or more. So it's kind of an evenly spread out game in the receiving department. Daniel Jones, 24 passing touchdowns to 12 interceptions for 3,027 yards in 12 starts. So about 2 touchdown passes and 1 interception per start. Literally perfectly in line with that. But also, I guess I should have taken into account I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns against the Buccaneers, so he may have had even more rushing touchdowns in total last season. So I could have talked about. I should have probably looked at that too, just to even give like more of a. Because so many guys. I mean, even guys like Daniel Jones, you don't expect to be that athletic, are coming into the NFL now and at least using their legs somewhat. It doesn't seem like we have anybody that's like standing in the pocket as a statue anymore. Yeah, but Aldrich Rosas, 70.6% on his field goals last season. That is not good. I don't know how he did in 2018, but 2019 was a bad season for him. I thought 2018 went pretty well for him, though, so that was pretty strange to see. Also, all the corners who had any decent stats on this team are no longer on the team. Just thought that was worth mentioning. Jabril Peppers had 3 forced fumbles, and no one else on the team had more than 1, I'm pretty sure. 10 sacks for Marcus Golden, 110 tackles for Antoine Bethea, 13 tackles for loss for Marcus Golden, and 7 tackles for loss for Dalvin Tomlinson. The injuries were kind of weird. No one missed even half the season, but like almost all the guys on the team that I would call significant pieces, except for Golden Tate, missed time. So Saquon missed 3 games, Evan Ingram missed 7 games, Daniel Jones missed 2 games, Alec Ogletree 2 games, Jabril Peppers 5 games, Sterling Shepard 5 games, Darius Slayton 2 games. Just a lot of guys all over the place, and that's tough. It's not fun to have be missing at least one or two guys every week when you play a game that are like key contributors to your team that already isn't extremely talented. So that's tough. Who'd they lose in the offseason? The first guy was an opt-out. Nate Solder will not be playing this season. He opted out for the pandemic, and yeah, Antoine Bethea not playing in this season. Alec Ogletree left the team. I'm pretty sure both those guys are actually unsigned. Obviously, Eli Manning retired. Mike Remmers is gone. Deion Buchanan isn't on the team anymore. Cody Latimer isn't either. For all those guys that I named, I think actually a majority of them aren't with a new team. They're just not on the team anymore, which is kind of strange. Additions, though. Logan Ryan. Very happy to say after looking at the Titans video, this is an extremely good player that the Giants are getting and will be very valuable on their defense. I'm hoping with the lack of depth at linebacker and then the other cornerbacks that they added, I'm hoping that they go with more of a nickel look. Or yeah, just a normal nickel look over like a base 4-3 or 3-4, whichever one they run here, because they've got their secondary is probably the most talented part of their defense, and I think they should utilize it, especially with the fact that Logan Ryan as a corner was just all over the field for the Titans last season. I'm sure he'd make a great nickel corner for them. Graham Gano, new kicker, obviously needed to move on because Rosas was just miserable last season. Deion Lewis added to the team to back up Saquon. Interesting there. Blake Martinez, tackle machine, but that franchise guy says that he is terrible. So, yeah, take that for what it is. James Bradbury, new cornerback. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure James Bradbury usually plays on the outside because talking about in this scenario, I'm talking about I want Logan Ryan in the interior at the nickel corner spot. So hopefully Bradbury would play out the outside, which I'm pretty sure he does. Don't know for sure, but he's been a decent cornerback and he's been in the league a little while. Then last guy I mentioned is Kyler Fackrell, and I honestly can't remember much about this guy at all except for his name. And I feel like he was a significant player for some teams, so I have to mention him. It may have been like another video that I made. I just noticed him and was like, "Whoa, he's kind of talented." So yeah, threw him in there. Andrew Thomas, or sorry, let's get into the draft now. Andrew Thomas, high-rated tackle, good pick because their offensive line is pretty weak. You gotta help it up front. I mean, they're not looking good up there. So that pick makes perfect sense to me. Next, Xavier McKinney, great blitzer, but can do anything you ask him to in the secondary. And since Antoine Bethea isn't on the team anymore, I think he fits the perfect mold to be that strong safety for him now. Jabril Peppers will play the other one. I'm assuming at least that Peppers would be the free safety and McKinney would be the strong safety. I mean, classifications are really not that big of a deal. It's just that Xavier McKinney not only played in the box a decent amount, but he also went after the quarterback a lot and was able to get a lot of sacks in college. So I think you want him to be the guy that's more down in the box while Jabril Peppers can hang out back there. Matt Pert, another fairly high pick tackle. Maybe he'll play opposite the other tackle that Andrew Thomas doesn't play, and maybe he'll play a significant amount this season, especially since Nate Solder isn't even going to be there. And I can't think of who their other tackle even would have been last season opposite Nate Solder. So, yeah, he may get significant time. Now, here is one of my... See, I love doing every one of these videos because I get to find out about a guy that I didn't know about before. A guy by the name of Darnay Holmes. Cornerback, and I think he should start opposite James Bradbury with Logan Ryan in the nickel look. This guy's football IQ is amazing, and he plays very well just in almost every facet of the game. I don't know why, but sometimes you just watch a guy and you're like, yes, this makes sense. And I think he's good enough to start. I'd love to hear about what he's been doing in training camp, but I haven't looked into training camp for any of these teams because don't want that to influence me too much. But yeah. Oh, and then I guess I didn't throw on the list I think I think they lost DeAndre Baker too. I didn't mention that, and he was one of the guys that I was saying had some of the significant stats at the cornerback position for them last season. So yeah. Next guy they got was Shane Lemieux, a guard and interior offensive line help. Now that they already grabbed 2 tackles, they grabbed some interior line help just because the entire thing needs work. Makes sense there. I like that pick. Cam Brown, mad play, but does a good job getting his head on the football. He forced like multiple forced fumbles just by him tackling in a manner so that his head would always land on the football. And nowadays, like that's good because you're forcing fumbles. But nowadays, it's taught. It's not taught to put your head where the football is anymore because you want to avoid injury. But I don't know how they're coaching that at the NFL level. And if you force a turnover, you're doing a good job. So props to him for that. Next guy, Carter Coughlin. He's a slim, athletic guy. He was listed as a linebacker, but he's an edge player. He's a speed rusher. I really like his talent. I'd be interested if he got play time. I'd love to see what he could do, especially opposite Marcus Golden. He's kind of a late round pick though, so I mean the chances of him getting on the field, I don't really know, but could be something like could have production like someone like Max Crosby last season, the Raiders guy who was a fairly late round pick but managed to get into games, play himself into some time. And I liked what I saw, so that's why I want to see him on the field. TJ Brunson, this guy plays so hard downhill, and he has amazing closing speed. You'll never be able to knock his effort, and he probably would be a really good special teams player to start his career. Honestly, I really like a lot of these guys the Giants drafted. It's just, it probably won't matter because the rest of the roster is so poor. But a few years down the line, we may be looking at this draft class like this draft class really helped out the Giants in the future. But the last 2 guys, not really anything special. Our off-brand player of the video, though, is Chris Williamson, who I'm just calling off-brand ET3. The only thing that makes him a little bit different than Earl Thomas is the fact that he does tend to get into the box a little more as a safety. But besides that, I mean, he looks just like Earl Thomas on the field, so threw that out there. Um, and I love it because he doesn't, just to be clear, he really doesn't look that good. It's just that I always compare all of these players to like really good players, and it probably makes it seem like, so this guy's going to be really good. No, the guys that I talked about for a long time talking about how good they were going to be, I think they'll be good, but Chris Williamson probably not anything special in my mind. Good luck to you though, Chris Williamson. And the last guy they selected was Tay Crowder, he was a good college linebacker. I mean, like he was being productive in what I saw, but I just didn't see anything that made me go, oh, he'll be a solid starter at the NFL level. Obviously can't know for sure, but yeah, that's what I got from their draft and their offseason. And now let's talk about their opponents for the year. So, also, that franchise guy, I just watched his record prediction video for every team this season. He did them all in one. Since I mentioned him once already, I may as well mention him again. He had the Giants as the worst team in football, going 1-15, and I just looked at it, and I hadn't obviously done my video for this yet. So I was like, what the heck? The Giants are bad. Granted, I don't think this roster is good. But the Giants, like, what are you saying here? I can't imagine that they'll be that bad. The thing is they got awful. And when I say awful, I mean awful luck. You've got their division opponents. I'm not going to mention them first. The thing here, I'm not going to pick any of these games yet either. I just want to talk about who they're playing and how it was scheduled. So, first up, the 2 divisions they're playing are the NFC West and the AFC North. Now, the NFC West, I had every single team having a 500 record or better in it. So if you think I say the Giants are a bad team and they're playing all those teams, I'm probably not going to pick the Giants in any of those games. Next, they play the AFC North. And I think the Browns, Steelers, and Ravens will all be very hard outs. The only team in that division that you're like, oh, the Giants could have a chance against them is the Bengals. But I think the Bengals are a little better than the Giants. And where the Bengals get the advantage in that game is the Bengals are the home team. Now, the only two games that I haven't talked about yet, besides the divisional opponents, are the same place finishers. The same place finishers work like this. The Giants were third in the NFC East last year, so they're going to play a third place team from, let's see, it was, who did I say? Oh, a third place team from the NFC South and the NFC North, because in the schedule you always have to play at least one game in uh, in each division in your conference. So like you'll have 6 games in your division, and then you'll play a full division within your conference, and then you'll grab a game in each other division in your conference. So the same place finishers for the um, for the NFC North and the NFC South happened to be the third place finishers. The third place finishers were the Giants in the NFC East. Sorry, this is taking so long to explain. But in the NFC South, it was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know what team had the best offseason in the league this year? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know who else was a third place finisher in their division and probably one of the best I mean, third place finisher. This has to be this Bears team for what they are. Third place in their division. It makes them sound really bad, because you're in the bottom half, obviously, but they're just in a good division. So I think the Bears are going to be a good team, and I think they'll be better this year than they were last year. Even though we did find out Mitchell Trubisky is the quarterback instead of Nick Foles, I'm not in favor of that. But this schedule that the Giants are going to have to go on is not easy by any means. But let's talk about it. Okay. Division opponents. We got the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Washington football team, all twice. Cowboys, I think they're going to be really good. 2 L's. Eagles, I think they're still a tier above the Giants. 2 L's in those games, too. Excuse me. Then the Washington football team. This is really where it's tough. I think for the Washington video, I said I'd split these games. I'd give one to the home team, or one to each of them, and I think that's what makes sense to me. I think Washington actually does have a better team than the Giants at this point, but I think just a little home field advantage. They're both pretty bad teams. I think a little home field advantage, swing in the Giants' favor one time. I think they can get a win in that, and they'll come out of the division with a 1-5 record. Then they got the Cardinals and 49ers, who I both predicted to have winning records. They're tiers above the Giants. LL, that's 1-7. Browns, Steelers at home also. They're still tiers above the Giants. I think those are both L's. That's 1-9 already. Then the Buccaneers are coming to town. Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. I mean, the defense doesn't even matter at that point. The Giants aren't going to be able to stop that offense. The Bucs are gonna win that one. And I mean, we don't even have to really mention the losses anymore, because I just have to remember that I've only given them 1 win so far. So then we look at the road opponents outside of the division, which is the Ravens, the Bengals, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Bears. Ravens way above the skill of this Giants team. Rams way above the skill of this Washington team. Seahawks way above the skill of this Washington team. Bears, offensively, comparing these two offenses, the offense is probably worse. The Bears' offense is probably worse than the Giants' offense, but I mean, the Bears' defense is just so much better than the Giants offense that I got to give that one to the Bears. And I think the game here that you're that you're looking at, like, that's left is the Bengals game. But even with it on the road, just looking at what was on the Bengals roster from last season, I'm seeing more talent there than I am on the Giants. The side of the ball that I'm more confident in for both of these teams, like if I'm just looking at the Giants or the Bengals, I'm more confident in the Giants offense than the Giants defense. I'm also more confident in the Bengals offense than the Bengals defense. But the thing here is that the Bengals offense, the running back position, I would say Saquon's a lot better, but all around besides that, I think the Bengals have him beat. I gotta say, offensive line, can't say much about. The Giants also probably have the tight end. But as for the receiving core and the quarterback, passing game, I think, is way in the Bengals' advantage. And I don't know, but I just think Burrow as a Heisman Trophy winner. I don't love predicting rookies to be extremely good, and I didn't predict that the Bengals would be extremely good. But I do think that the Bengals will be better than the Giants on that Sunday that they play, because I highly doubt that's a primetime game. If it's a primetime game, I'm shocked. If it's a primetime game, let me know. I could totally see it just being one of those random Thursday night games that they have to market in week 15. The 3 and 10 Cincinnati Bengals host the 1 and 12 New York Giants this Thursday night. Come watch. And it's just like, oh my gosh. But yeah, I think the Bengals are going to win that game. So for me thinking that franchise guy was kind of like, I'm like, what? You think this team's going to go 1 and 15? Well, guess what? They got screwed with who they've got to play. And I think people overlook that a lot, because I see a lot of record predictions that are just seemingly how many games do I think they win versus random opponents, rather than actually looking at who they play against. And I think you have to look at who they play against to make a record prediction. So I don't think they'll beat the Bengals in that game. So this outlook for this Giants season does not look too bright. Hopefully they can get someone to just absolutely turn up for them at some point in the season to just make their life a lot better, because and by that I just mean like have Saquon go for like 300 all-purpose yards in a game or something like that, because they're going to need it to win. They're going to need it to win multiple games this season. I don't think the team is good at all, and that's why, even though I feel really strange about it, and I don't want to give a team a prediction with this low of a win total, I really think the Giants will go 1 and 15 this season. Yeah, that's what I'm leaving it at. New York Giants 1 and 15 in 2020. So, if you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching. 2020 president candidate.